Guys, remember back in 2012, I believe it was, when 17-year-old Trayvon Martin was killed by George Zimmerman, then President Barack Obama came out and he made a statement to the extent where he said something like, if I had a son, he would look like Trayvon Martin. Now, of course, everything blew up. All type of racial civil unrest was happening, and bad feelings were all over the place. The media had a field day with that. If there's one thing that you can be sure of in situations like this, when you're looking for who's going to win, it's always going to be the media, okay? Because they love this shit. So anyway, Barack Obama said that, and I remember at the time, I remember thinking to myself, well, that's a strange thing to say. Okay, of course everyone applauded him for saying it, but the point of the matter is that the president of the United States, of all people, would know that white people are killed more than black people are by the police. Now, you can make the argument about what is proportionate and all of that, but yeah, that is the actual fact of the matter. So it was interesting to me that he would deliberately, now keep in mind, being the president who has a lot of what he says written by other people, would make a statement like that, especially when I consider the fact that I couldn't criticize this man's administration for anything without people telling me, well, he doesn't just represent black people, he represents all Americans. Okay, fair enough. All right. But to make a personal statement like that might have been natural, but I thought it was an interesting and deliberate choice of words. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because it's happened again. You had another child who was killed. All right. This time, not by some overzealous so-called fucking citizen, but by the police. Okay, so you have a child who was shot to death in the back by the police. Okay, and I'm just wondering, maybe you guys can help me. I'm wondering two things. Number one, is anyone going to make the observation that if they had a son, they would look like this kid? And number two, well, the media. Is anyone getting tired of the way the media manipulates all of us to the point where we're at each other's throats? And I'm bringing this up in light of that bullshit documentary, Everything's Gonna Be All White, because they're really pushing the concept of victimhood. Well, it's the way they keep killing us. Okay, but you just want to ignore stories like this, okay? So this is the reason why I have to talk about it, guys. This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. And yes, I saw this story first on the local news, and then they saw it on Yahoo. I saw it on Yahoo, and I want to share it with you guys, okay? So let's get into this, guys, because like I said, I got a couple of questions for you. When it says seventh grader, my son's in the seventh grade, who was allegedly armed, was shot down by Philly cops, and he never had a chance. Thomas T.J. Siderio could not escape where he came from. That's how one woman who described herself as a close family friend put it in an interview on Wednesday near the seventh grader's school, hours after local police shot and killed him. Authorities said the incident began when cops took gunfire late Tuesday and pursued two people, one of whom was Siderio. The child was fatally shot once in the back as he fled. He just wanted someone to care about him, Brittany Golden told the Daily Beast, adding, he had such a baby face. Golden said Siderio bounced around homes after his dad went to prison. The child briefly went missing himself in 2020. That means he must have been in something like the 4th or the 5th grade. Obviously a cry for help, okay? Like I said, my son is in the 7th grade. I know that this is a time when young boys are dealing with so many changes going on inside of them, They're dealing with impending adulthood, malehood, all of the things that are just getting started around that time. So a lot of times they tend to react with anger. They need the guidance of males who have been there ourselves, who can help them. Okay, so he tried to run away. While authorities have offered up mixed messages, and I wonder what he was running away from, by the way. Authorities have offered up mixed messages about whether Siderio was the one who opened up fire on the police. They said the child was armed at the time they shot him. The tragedy began around 7:20 p.m. Tuesday when 4 officers saw 2 people standing on the corner of 18th and Barber Streets. One of them was someone they sought to question in connection with a gun investigation, police said. But when the cops turned on emergency lights, they claimed they heard gunfire. This shattered their back window. The projectile that came through the window, police said, lodged in the passenger seat headrest and left a perforating hole through the glass. During a Wednesday press briefing, Deputy Commissioner Benjamin Naish admitted that authorities could not say Siderio fired the gun into the car. I can't be definitive about exactly everything that happened at this point, but I can be definitive that a shot was fired into the police vehicle and a gun was recovered, Naish said. Two of the officers got out of the car and started firing at Siderio. Who the authorities claim was holding a semi-automatic handgun equipped with a laser that had been reported stolen. Like, how the hell does a seventh grader get his hands on a semi-automatic handgun equipped with a laser? What the hell was going on with his life? Before he began to run away. While pursuing the boy, an officer fired his weapon twice, striking Siderio once in the upper back with a bullet that exited through his chest. Naish said Wednesday he could not get into the specifics about whether the officers told Siderio to stop or drop the weapon. He also said that none of the officers in the incident were wearing body cameras because it's not current policy for plainclothes cops to be wearing them. Now, keep in mind, guys, this is, by the way, a white boy. Okay, he's a white child, which is the reason why I was asking the question, what if Joe Biden were to say, if I had a son or another son, he looked like him? Better yet, what if Trump were to say, if I had a son, he would have looked like him? He reminds me of my son Barron. Okay, do you think that the press might have blew that crap up into the atmosphere? You know what I mean? Do you think if it were a black child and he got shot in the back while running away and there were no body cameras, do you think this place would not be on fire by now? Like, that's just the question I'm asking. And the question I'm asking it for is because this is what the media actually jump starts. This is the narrative that they push. All right. The fact that it's not happening is because you're not going to hear this, or at least it's not likely that you're going to hear Anderson Cooper talking about this, to the point where when I talk about the mere fact that white kids or white people get shot by the cops more than black people, I have people come into my comment section to tell me I'm lying. It's not true because they never see it. Okay. All right. So this is the reason why I'm actually talking about this. This is the reason why you have to hear this on a YouTuber's channel instead of hearing it on the national media. But you're not going to hear it because they have to push the narrative so they can get all their little, objectives out there. They can push, all of their narratives and, all of the things that they want to get done, agendas and everything. Naish said Wednesday he couldn't get into the specifics. Okay. All right, the deputy commissioner, however, argued that just because he was fleeing, I got to that part, Siderio was transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead at 7:29 p.m. A spokesperson for the school district of Philadelphia told the Daily Beast. Siderio was in 7th grade at George W. Sharswood Elementary School. He is in school, but he never goes, Golden said across the street from Sharswood on Wednesday afternoon. Like, once again, this is a problem with the system. I know with my son, if he's absent, and I know he's absent, I'm still going to get an email from the school saying, where is your child? Where is he at? If this continues, they send investigators to your home because they think I might be beating him or something like that. You know what I mean? So I don't understand how he could never be in school, and this was going on for as long as it was. A 7th grader. Police said the individual with Siderio is identified as a 17-year-old male who was briefly detained before ultimately being released. 17-year-olds, he was probably looking for a father figure. Coulson said he believed the 17-year-old was a relative, and Golden suggested the gun described by the police was a recent acquisition. Okay, I don't see any mention of the boy's mom here, but this is the point that I'm trying to make, guys. Like I said before, it's all well and good to push for justice when anybody gets killed, anybody gets shot, okay, by the cops or by anybody else. All right, but when you have a media that disproportionately spotlights one group of people based on their race, when you have schools that continue to teach all kids that specifically Black Lives Matter, I don't see how this is helping. I don't see how it's helping us to identify what the actual problem is, which is a breakdown in the system, a breakdown in the way that police officers are actually trained to do their job. This is not a knock on police officers. Like I said before, I come from a law enforcement family, but you have to admit, when a 7th grader is being shot in the back, running away, There's got to be an issue here, guys. And keep in mind, the investigation is ongoing, so I am saving my judgment. I challenge you guys to do the same, but you have to ask some very uncomfortable questions here, all right? And I've always believed that the more they throw race, gender, sexuality, the more they throw that stuff out there, the more we get distracted because everyone is fighting along these lines and we get distracted from what the actual problem is. That we as a people, as a community, as a human race should be concerned with human rights issues and how we can prevent or at least lessen the possibility that our children will slip through the cracks the way this has, and end up the way that he has ended up. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy when it happens to black kids. It's a tragedy when it happens to white kids. It's a tragedy when it happens to Latinos, when it happens to Asians, when it happens to Indians. All children should be looked out for. Okay, so when you get into the schools and they push these agendas and these curriculums where they want you to acknowledge and they want you to recite that Black Lives Matter, well, yeah, sure, Black Lives Matter, but all lives matter. That's got to be the takeaway from this. All right, so the system, I believe, failed little TJ Siderio, and I apologize for that. I apologize to all children for what they're going through today because we can't get this shit together, guys. We allow these people to continue to do what they're doing. The media is evil in the way that they report these things. You have things like everything's going to be all white, which is also evil. What I really don't like about them is the way that they kill us. Okay, but they're killing a lot of people. We could have allies here. We need to be looking at what's really going on, guys, so we can try to make it better. All right. So anyway, guys, you can get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this. Why do you think that Biden or Trump or anybody else is not allowed to say, if I had a son, they would look like this? Why does everyone back off from this? Why does the media not talk about it? Why is Anderson Cooper not talking about it? Where's Van Jones crying with his bitch ass about this? You're not going to see it. And I think there's something wrong with that. But anyway, guys, you can get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about this. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Catch me on Twitter, catch me on Rumble, catch me on Odyssey. Thank you again. I'll see you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on. Rest in peace, young man.